I closed the pharmacy counter 3 nights a week, which meant I knew that strip mall parking lot the way you know your own hallway in the dark. 11 o'clock, registers counted, lights half down, and the walk to my car, 40 yards I'd done 500 times. By close, the lot was always the same. My car, a sea of empty spaces, and the dark storefronts watching nothing. I never thought of that walk as a risk. It was a commute. That night I came out at 11:15, keys already in my hand, coat half zipped. And from 30 feet away I could see something was wrong with my car. Not damage, posture. It sat wrong, dropped at one corner, leaning, like a table with a short leg. The front tire on the far side was flat to the rim, dead flat, hours flat. And I remember the feeling exactly because it wasn't fear. It was annoyance. A flat tire at midnight is a chore. It didn't feel like a thing that had been done. It felt like a thing that had happened. I stood by the fender and got my phone out doing chore math. Roadside plan, maybe 40 minutes. My brother, asleep. The spare I'd never once touched. The lot was flat quiet. The kind of quiet where your own zipper is loud. Behind me, the pharmacy sign hummed. Every other storefront was dark glass. Nothing moved anywhere. I want to be fair to myself about this part. There was nothing to notice. No footsteps, no engine, no shape in a doorway. The lot was empty in every direction I checked. I know because I checked. So when a man's voice said, "Saw you were stuck," the first thing that went through me wasn't fear of him. It was the plain impossibility of him. He was already at the front of my car, a big guy, gray hoodie, work boots, easy smile in the dark. And he was already lowering himself to a crouch at my flat, like we'd agreed on something. "This front one's done. You got a spare? I do these all day, 10 minutes, I'll have you home." Friendly, competent, exactly what a stranded person wants to hear. And 90 seconds earlier, there had been no one in that lot at all. He didn't ask if I wanted help. That's the part I keep coming back to. He was just doing it. Palms on the tire, checking the wheel. "Pop your trunk for me, we'll get your spare down." Momentum instead of permission. And I could feel myself getting carried by it, the way you get carried by anyone confident at a thing you can't do. My hand actually moved toward the trunk button. Then he added, easy as anything, "Toss your bag in the car so it's not in your way. And come down here, hold the light for me, down here where I can show you." Down here was the far side of the car. The flat was on the side facing away from the pharmacy, away from the one lit door, away from the road. Crouched next to him at that wheel, I'd be below the window line, with the whole body of my own car between me and every light in that lot. Invisible from the road, invisible from the store, phone in the car, bag in the car, knees on the asphalt, holding a light for a man I'd known for 1 minute, in the one spot on that entire property where no one driving past would ever see two people at all. And while he talked, the wrong things lined up in me one by one. There was no other car in that lot. So where had he come from? On foot, at midnight, in the 90 seconds since I checked. "Saw you were stuck." Saw from where? Every window behind him was dark. He had no jack, no gloves, no kit. A man who does these all day, carrying nothing at all. And he'd called it before he ever crouched. "This front one's done." From across the car, in the dark. So I didn't crouch. I kept my bag on my shoulder and my phone in my fist, and I took 2 slow steps back toward the lit pharmacy door, keeping the car between us. I said, "Thanks, I had Roadside coming. He didn't need to stay." And he stayed. "They'll take an hour, easy. 10 minutes and I'd have you home already." The favor talk. pointed gently at his own crouch by my wheel. He never got angry, and he never stopped smiling, and he never once moved out of the space between me and my flat tire. So I made the call standing up, loud, looking straight at him. All-night tow line. And I gave the dispatcher everything in a voice the whole lot could hear. The strip mall, the pharmacy end, my plate. And there's a man here with me, about 6'2", gray hoodie, work boots, no vehicle. I described him to her while I watched it land on him. Each detail going in like a pin through something. The smile still there, but nothing behind it anymore. Because helpful men don't mind being described. And he minded. He minded completely. He straightened up out of the crouch, and the whole performance came off with him. No goodbye, no suit yourself, none of the shapes a real helper leaves on. He just turned and went, fast, cutting between the dark stores at the end of the row, and was gone into the service lane behind the building before I'd finished with the dispatcher. I stood in the lit doorway with my back against the glass and watched that lot until my eyes ached. No engine ever started. No headlights ever pulled out. Whatever he'd come in, it wasn't parked anywhere I could see, or he'd come on foot from somewhere close and gone back to it. The tow truck came up the lot 25 minutes later, lit up like a carnival, and I have never been so glad to see a stranger in my life. The driver put my spare on, checked my other tires, followed me out to the road. I told him about the man. He didn't laugh it off. He looked down the row of dark storefronts for a while, and then he told me to get the flat looked at. Not patched, looked at. I didn't understand why he said it like that. The next morning I did. The guy at the tire shop pulled my flat off the rim, found the spot, and went quiet. Then he tipped the tire toward me so I could see. Not a nail, not a screw, not a slow leak off the rim. A slit. Clean, straight about 2 inches, low in the sidewall, the kind of cut a blade makes when somebody kneels down and puts it there. Done hours before I ever came out. Done while I was inside, counting a register under the lights. The flat wasn't luck, it was made. And the man who appeared 90 seconds after I found it had spent his whole evening waiting for me to find it. I still close 3 nights a week. Somebody has to, and I like my job. But I park nose out now, under the light by the doors, where the camera actually reaches. The police were straight with me that it hadn't reached my old row, and a man on foot between dark buildings leaves nothing to pull. I walk out with the grocery night guard when our closes line up, and I look at my car's posture from the door before I ever leave the glass. And if I'm ever stuck again and help arrives before I've asked anyone for it, I stay on my feet, I keep my bag on my shoulder, and I say who I'm looking at out loud to someone on a phone. Because a flat tire stopped meaning bad luck to me that morning. Now it means a question, and I answer it from behind a locked door. Let somebody honest knock on the glass. I cooked on the closing line, which means my drive home started at 1 in the morning, every night, through a city that had gone to bed without me. And I loved that drive. Empty lanes, timed lights, windows down to get the fryer smell off me. The streets at that hour felt like mine. No traffic, no horns, nothing between me and my bed but 4 miles of green. When you drive the same dead streets every night, you stop thinking of the other cars as drivers. They're just lights. And lights don't want anything from you. That's what I'd have told you, right up until that Tuesday. The headlights picked me up 2 blocks from the restaurant. Nothing strange about that. It's a straight shot to the boulevard. Everybody funnels down it. But they held there, block after block, through 2 lights, always the same distance back, like a note held on an organ. And then, somewhere past the closed car wash, the distance started coming in. Not aggressive, patient. A car length. half a length, close enough that the light filled my mirrors and I couldn't see anything behind it. No shape of a driver, no make, no color, just high beams with a car somewhere underneath them. At the four-way by the shuttered bakery, rolling up to the stop, the car behind me touched my bumper. A tap, a jolt, enough to knock my teeth together and slop the coffee in my cup holder, not enough to throw me into the wheel. And the sound of it was small, a thump, plastic on plastic. My heart went off anyway, because any hit at all, at night, from behind, lights in your mirrors, fires every alarm you have. But under the alarm, instantly, automatically, the training kicked in. I'd just been in an accident, and there are things you do. Everybody knows the ritual. They drill it into you at 16. You put your hazards on. You pull over somewhere safe. You get out, you look at the damage together. You trade insurance. You take pictures. Leaving is the crime. Staying is the law. So my hand found the hazards without me deciding anything, and I coasted to the curb on the dark block past the intersection, and the car pulled in behind me, and my fingers were already in the glove box for the insurance card, and my other hand was on the door handle. I want to be honest, I wasn't suspicious yet. I was annoyed and shaken and doing what you do. What stopped me was the mirror, because an honest fender bender has a shape to it. The other car angles out or pulls alongside. A dome light comes on. Somebody gets out holding a phone, walks to the bumpers, bends over the damage, does the grimace, does the sorry hands. Behind me there was none of it. The car had parked the way it had followed, glued to my bumper, dead center, engine running, headlights still up, still filling my mirrors so that no face could exist back there. Nobody got out to look at the thing we'd both supposedly just been in. Nobody looked at the bumpers at all. The car just sat there, pressed up against my night, waiting. And with my hand on the handle, I finally looked at where I'd stopped. The block past the bakery is the darkest quarter mile on that whole drive. Dead storefronts, 2 burned-out street lamps, a fenced lot. No windows lit, no one walking. The gas station and its cameras were half a mile ahead, the restaurant a mile behind. If you'd wanted a stretch of that street where a man could step out of his car and not one soul would see what happened next, it was this one. And the tap hadn't happened here. The tap had happened back at the four-way, timed so that a driver doing the right thing, coasting to the first safe curb, would come to rest exactly here. I sat there with my hazards clicking, and the seconds got long. The car behind me did nothing a driver in an accident does. No door, no phone glow, no plate light. I looked for a front plate and there wasn't one. Just the engine idling and the high beams holding me in that white glare, and my own hazards blinking orange into it like a distress signal I'd lit for them. I took my hand off the handle. I don't remember deciding to. Some older part of me had already voted, and it voted, stay in the car. Then the passenger door of the car behind me opened. No hurry to it. It swung out and a figure came out of the glare. I could only get pieces, a hood, hands free at the sides, and eased along the gap between our cars. And here's the thing I will never be able to unsee. He didn't stop at the bumpers. There was no glance at the damage, no crouch, none of the theater of a man checking his car. He crossed straight through the gap between the two cars, over to my side and kept coming. Up along my flank, tracking forward past my rear door, on a line whose only destination was my driver's door. My foot came off the brake before the rest of me caught up. I hit the lock. I pulled out, not squealing, just gone. And in the mirror, the figure stood a beat in the empty space where my car had been, then folded back into the passenger seat, and the headlights swung out after me. They stayed on me through the next 3 blocks, through my lane changes, through a yellow I shouldn't have made. And I did the one smart thing I had left in me that night. I didn't drive home. Whatever this was, it did not get to learn where I sleep. I drove at the only light I could think of, the all-night gas station up on the boulevard. Pumps, cameras, people. I came in under the canopy too fast and parked crooked at pump 3, next to a cab and a guy filling a work van. And the sedan, I could see it now in the light, a dark sedan, ordinary as rain, slowed at the entrance, rode the lip of the driveway for one long second, and then slid on past, every silhouette in it facing forward, like the whole car had never seen me before in its life. I watched its taillights go down the boulevard and drop away. They didn't circle back. They didn't have to. Somewhere back there was another set of dead blocks, and the night was still young. It took me 10 minutes under that canopy to stop shaking enough to do the ritual, the one I'd been trained to do back at the curb. I walked around to look at my rear bumper, phone out for the pictures, and there was nothing. I crouched. I ran my hand across it. I wiped the road dust and looked again under the canopy lights. No dent, no scuff, not a crack in the plastic, not a fleck of their paint on mine. I'd felt that hit through the seat, through my teeth, and it had left no mark at all, hard enough to be felt, soft enough to leave nothing. Measured. It was never a crash. I called the police from under the canopy, and an officer met me there and was decent about all of it. But there was nothing for anyone to hold. A dark sedan with no front plate, faces I never saw, an intersection with no camera. And with no mark on either car, there was on paper no accident, nothing to exchange, nothing to charge, no collision to even file. It went into the system as a suspicious vehicle, which is the official name for a thing everyone believes happened and no one can touch. They never found the car. I never expected them to. It was just lights again by then, somewhere out in somebody else's mirrors. Here's where I've landed, because people ask, and because the law is the law. I still stop. If I'm ever in a real accident, I'll stop, like you should. But I stop on my terms now. Hazards on, doors locked, and I roll. Slow, legal, signaling, to the nearest place with light and other human beings. And anyone honest will follow me there, because honest people also prefer light. I look for the dome light, the person at the bumpers, the sorry hands, the shape a real accident makes. And until I see that shape, my window stays up and my feet stay in the car. It costs the honest drivers of the world about 90 seconds of their evening, and not one of them has ever complained. So I still stop. I just make the accident prove it's real before my feet touch the street. A dent has never once tried to open my door. Every couple of months, I drive the 2 hours back from my sister's, Sunday night, so I can be at school Monday morning. I teach 4th grade, and the drive was my decompression. Dark interstate, an audiobook, 60 miles of nothing between her exit and mine. I knew my off-ramp the way you know your own driveway. A long right-hand curl off the highway, grass banks, one guardrail, no lights. I'd taken it 100 times, tired, at night, on autopilot. The 100 times were practice for the one time, and the one time was that Sunday. The deer came out of the grass bank halfway down the ramp, just materialized in the headlights, a whole animal where there'd been nothing. I did what you're not supposed to do. I swerved. The wheel jumped, the rail came up, and there was that sound, that long grinding sound you feel in your fillings. And then the car was stopped, nose against the guardrail, tilted, and the deer was gone like it had never existed. And the night came down on everything, enormous and silent, with just my one headlight still burning and the tick of something hot under the hood. I wasn't hurt. I want to say that plainly, No airbag even, just a hard scare and a front wheel folded in against the rail, the car dead where it sat. But shock is a strange country. My hands wouldn't do buttons. I dropped my phone twice into the footwell. I caught myself apologizing out loud to the empty car, to the guardrail, to nobody. The interstate hissed by above me, cars I could hear and not see, and the ramp itself was a black curl of nothing in both directions. I have never in my life felt so specifically alone as I did on that little strip of county road, 50 feet from 1,000 strangers going by. The 911 dispatcher was kind, and the kindness put my bones back in. Yes, ma'am, I'm off the interstate, the ramp at the county road. No, ma'am, not injured. Yes, undrivable. She said a trooper was on his way, and a tow was being dispatched off the county rotation. About 40 minutes for the truck, hun. Stay in your vehicle, belt on, doors locked. You're doing fine. 40 minutes. I locked the doors, put my hazards on, and settled into that strange, bright bubble. The orange blink sweeping the grass, the rail, the dark, the grass, the rail, the dark, and me in the middle of it, waiting for the system I just called to come and get me. The lights came up over the shoulder of the ramp so soon they felt like grace. Big lights, high lights, truck lights, and then the shape behind them. A flatbed tow truck, amber bar flickering, easing down the ramp toward me. And the relief was physical, warmth in the chest. The system worked. I was already gathering my purse, my registration, being a good, organized crash victim. Here is what I did not do, sitting in that bubble with my bones just barely back in. I did not look at the clock, because the clock would have told me that I had hung up with 911 4 minutes earlier. He was out of the cab almost before the truck stopped rolling. A trim man, ball cap, work jacket, flashlight, moving like competence itself. Ma'am, you okay? Anybody hurt? And then the sentence that unlocked me. Police sent me over. Let's get you off this ramp. Police sent me. Those words landed exactly on the shape of my need, like a key cut for it. And I have to be honest about what I did because this is the part that scares me most now. I smiled at him. I thanked him. And my hand went into my purse for my keys to give him, before one single thought had happened anywhere in my head. He moved fast, and he moved me fast. A clipboard appeared, one loose page on it. Where was I headed? He'd run me and the car together, easiest thing. Go ahead and hop up in my cab, heater's going, sit up there while I hook it. Always motion, always the next small step already named. So there was never a gap in it big enough for a question to fit through. And he had a way of standing, friendly, easy, that was always slightly between me and my own car. Always half turning me, palm out like an usher, toward the dark cab of his truck, idling up there, above the reach of my hazards. The wrong things came in small, the way they do. There was no company name on the truck, not on the door, not on the bed, just a ghost of old lettering, peeled off, a shade darker where words used to be. The one page on his clipboard was blank on the side I could see, and he never asked my name. A man sent by a dispatcher has a name to match, a call number, a make and model, something. He asked me nothing at all. He didn't need anything from me, because everything he was doing had been decided before his truck ever came down the ramp. And under all of it, one number would not sit down. 40 minutes, hun. The dispatcher's voice, kind and specific, saying 40 minutes for the truck. And this truck had come down the ramp before my hazards had blinked through 4 minutes of dark. I looked down the ramp behind him. No trooper, no second set of lights anywhere. The system I'd called was still 40 minutes deep in the county somewhere, and yet here was a man with a flatbed and a flashlight who had somehow beaten the very people he said had sent him. So I asked, politely, stupidly politely, still half in the warm. "Which company are you with? Did the county call you?" And the answers came back smooth and round and empty. "Dispatch put it out, we cover this stretch." Not a name, not a town. Words shaped like answers with nothing inside them. And each time he answered, he took another half step of me toward the truck, palm hovering behind my shoulder, never quite touching. "You don't want to be standing out here, ma'am. Not on this ramp." The safety of me, suddenly the most urgent thing in the world, to a man I had never called. So I planted my feet, and I said the sentence that saved me. "I'm just going to call 911 back and confirm you're my tow. 2 seconds." And everything warm about him stopped. Mid-word, mid-gesture. Not anger. Anger would have been human. Just a switching off. The friendliness gone like a light behind a face. And for one long second he looked at me, and then past me, down the black curl of the ramp. The way a man checks how much time a thing still has. "Suit yourself," he said flat, and it was a different voice, the working voice, the real one. He walked back toward his truck while my call rang, and the dispatcher, the same kind voice, came on. And I asked if my tow had arrived early. "Keys," a pause. "Ma'am, your truck shows 35 minutes out." Another pause, and her voice changed shape. "We don't show anyone else dispatched to you. Is he still there?" And I stood in my orange blinking bubble on that black ramp, phone at my ear, watching the man the police never sent climb up into his cab. He didn't tear away. The flatbed woke up, eased off the shoulder, and came down the ramp past me. Slow, unhurried, a working truck in no trouble at all. It drew level with my window, and for one breath, it stopped there. I couldn't see him up in the dark of the cab. I could only feel the direction of him. Then the truck rolled on, down the curl of the county road, and its lights went off while it was still in sight, and it ran dark until the road bent, and the night folded over it, and the ramp was just the grass, the rail, and my hazards sweeping. The trooper reached me 9 minutes later, my tow, the real one, in about the 40 she'd promised. The real truck had a company name in letters you could read across the ramp, and a driver who asked for mine before he touched my car. I told the trooper everything. He didn't doubt a word of it, but an unmarked flatbed, no plate I'd caught, a ramp with no cameras, gone before anyone rolled. There was nothing for him to chase, and he said so straight. It was on the drive home days later that the arithmetic finally said itself out loud. The real tow took 40 minutes to reach that ramp. He took 4. Nobody passing by is that lucky, and nobody following me could have known I'd crash. There's only one way to be 4 minutes from a stranger's accident. You're already out there in the dark, parked somewhere, with a radio on, listening for it to happen. My crash went out over the air with a location on it, and something out there answered it first. I got the car fixed. I still make the Sunday drive, and I still love the dark miles. That didn't get taken from me, and I'm glad. But I keep a rule now, and it's a gentle one. Kindness that arrives too fast gets one phone call before it gets my keys. The real helpers never mind. The real tow driver told me so himself, said he'd rather I checked, said the good ones carry names you can read. So if I'm ever broken down again, I'll wait inside the locked car for the truck with the name, however long the 40 minutes takes. Because somewhere out past the grass banks, there's a man with a flatbed I know exactly nothing about, except that when I said the word confirm, the warmth went out of him like a switch. I hope your 40 minutes always take 40 minutes. I hope he's parked somewhere far from your exit tonight. And let's never meet. 3 drivers, 3 nights, 3 cars that stopped. A flat that was cut hours before she found it, with the helper already waiting in the dark. A tap at a dead intersection that left no mark, because it was never a crash. It was a summons to step outside. And a tow truck that answered a call the police never made, 4 minutes after her worst moment went out over the air. None of them broke a window. None of them raised a voice. Each one just set the road's own rules on the table and waited for a tired driver to follow them. So before you close the tab, sit with the honest question. The helpful stranger already crouched at your tire. The law that says get out and exchange. The responder who says the police sent him. Which one would have worked on you? Tell me in the comments. Subscribe so the next one reaches you before your car ever stops. And the next time the road hands you a bad night, look at the clock before you look at the help. The real thing is never early.